Right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So the news story today is that KTM are going into self-administration, which is really big. Now, there was some signs that this was going to happen. They had a huge operating loss last year, almost 100 million euros, something astronomical. And I know that the whole motorcycle market is in decline, but that is big. They attributed the loss mainly to the cycle division, so like push bikes, electric bikes, which with a cost of living crisis, no one's buying motorbikes, but they're sure as hell not buying £7,000-8,000 electric mountain bikes either. Now, Pierre Mobility, which is the owner company, derives 95% of its profit from KTM. So basically, if KTM fail, the whole ship goes down. Now, KTM are a funny situation, not funny as in ha ha ha, but unusual in the fact that they are a high-end premium brand, yet they haven't had an entry-level offering really. Okay, they've shipped their 790 production out to China and tried to bring the price down, but they've just done, in my opinion, an array of own goals over the last few years. When they entered the collaboration with CF Moto, I think it hugely benefited CF Moto to have the backing and the prestige and the technology transfer from KTM. But what KTM got out of it was a kind of a association with Chinese manufacturing, when only 10% of their bikes were actually made in China. And I read an interview with the CEO, and he was basically explaining that people need to realise that we don't make all KTMs in China. So this thing had kind of got locked into the public consciousness, that KTMs were all KTMs were the same as all CF Motos, which they're not. KTM was a premium brand, but I think it devalued itself a little bit by getting in with CF. Obviously they needed to do that to lower their manufacturing, but I don't think it was without its disadvantages. The other thing, which everybody knows about, is the big camshaft failure. Now, they just handled this really poorly, pretended it didn't happen for years, then said it was a small number of bikes, refused to help the owners, eventually caved after months, if not years of pressure, and you'll get it repaired under warranty, but not the 890s. 890s not allowed, a small number of 790s, yes. So for the sake of this remedial work they could have authorised years ago, their reputation was really badly damaged. And I saw, I actually had a screenshot of this on Auto Trade. If you go on bikes and you look at KTM 790s, new ones, £2,500 off, £3,000 off, 1,500 quid off. Dealers cannot sell those bikes, and even before this bad news, I don't think anyone wanted a bike that there was the slight inclination that camshaft would go pop at 10,000 miles. So it's that they in a way they've kind of, unfortunately, they're a good brand, they produce good motorcycles, but they've scored these own goals over the years, like the China Association, like they don't really have anything entry level. This thing with the camshaft, and also demo mode. They were the first people to bring it in. Everybody hated demo mode software, where you had to pay 1,500 euros or $1,500, whatever it was, like 1,200 euros, to get your features that came with the bike reactivated after about 1,000 miles or whatever it is. So you had a demo period of 1,000 kilometers, 800 miles. Was it 1,500 kilometers? Something like that, 900 miles, whatever it was like about 1,000 miles where you could test all the features, like the cruise control, like the heated grips, quick shifter, and then then the bike would automatically take those features away from you. You'd have to go into a KTM dealer and get it reinstalled, and what a pain that is, and how like nasty is it that they give you something, you get hooked on the comfort, and then they pull it away from you. I just think that was really poor, and that effectively made the bikes 1,500 euros more expensive than they were on the ticket price, because if you wanted the extras you had to go in and pay later. You were just deferring part of the bike's payment. So it's a bit of a mess, to be honest. They've done a few odds and ends that I think were kind of management poor management strategy. Obviously, the backdrop is that the motorcycle market is in decline. People have got less money, so the whole economy is in a decline. And we've got they're at the premium thing. They're fighting against BMW, Triumph, Ducati. Like if you think of their adventure range and their like hyper naked range, it's a hard market to compete in. They don't really have any entry level offerings. Like we're talking about Royal Enfield, CF Moto, like kind of 5-6 grand. Maybe some of the 390s, but even those are comparatively expensive. I've never really gelled with KTM, only for aesthetic reasons really. They don't have a proper retro bike, so I've never really liked them. I mean, that said, I know they have a lot of fans and they make really competent bikes. I mean, particularly the suspension on KTM and the power outputs is pretty blistering. But for me, I just haven't really clicked with them. The styling, everything's bright orange and there's no retro lineup. So it's not really been my bag, but it's still a huge upset to the market. It's the same old thing again, isn't it? It's another big name that's going down the plug hole. I'd also make the point, just before I finish, that the motorcycle market is actually overburdened. There's actually more brands than the market can sustain. So if you think you've got the traditional manufacturers that are all vying for market share, a declining pool of customers, aging customer base, and then you've got the likes of Vosges and CF and Cove coming in, Vosges, CF, Bender. There's all these new brands coming in from China. They are so cost focused that you can buy a nice new bike if you're willing to buy a made in China bike. That's another video. And then they've got all the features and all the gear. Like look at the Vosges 900, heated everything. The Morbidelli V-twin adventure bike that's coming, heated everything, fully got the cruise control, everything, adjustable windscreens, everything people get on the bigger, more expensive European brands, you can get for a third off if you buy Chinese. So they're going to have to adapt to it, and unfortunately KTM haven't been able to adapt fast enough. Now, I've never reviewed a KTM, I've never ridden a KTM, I've admired them from afar sort of thing from the technology's point of view, but obviously I've never recommended anyone buy one, and at this point, of course, I think if you've got a KTM, the value of it unfortunately may have decreased, and they now will have to get somebody to buy the company and restart the brand. Now, obviously, motorcycle brands do fail. Obviously BSA, which I own, failed in 1970s and then was revived. It's now coming back to life. So brands do fail. It's just we don't really hear of brands outside a few electric companies like Energetica and Cake. Smaller brands fail. We just haven't had anyone on the scale of KTM fail. So if you have got a KTM, yeah, I don't know, you're gonna have to figure out a good independent dealer. Hopefully the dealers keep operating as long as possible, and I would think, unfortunately, the value of your bike is going to decrease. Now, the same thing might actually happen with CF Moto because they're distributed from KTM, through KTM, sorry. So I don't know whether CF Moto will be detrimentally affected, and if the value of, say, the 800 MTs and that kind of thing, yet to be seen. I think CF Moto is so kind of big that they'll just switch a reseller, a distributor in our market, and that'll be fine. CF also, I know people say, the engines are the same. I don't think they've had any camshaft failures with CF. So I think whatever was wrong with them, the metallurgy, or I think the finger followers were too narrow. If I got that wrong, then don't stone me. I'm not very mechanical, but I don't think CF Moto followed that manufacturing process that the original bikes that had the flaws had. Could be wrong, but I don't think CF Moto will be brought down as badly or as negatively impacted as KTM. Anyway, guys, sorry to bring more bad news, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.